Closed for Essence. What does that mean? Close for Essence. Essence Festival is a festival that takes place in New Orleans around July 4th. It's happening a little bit early this year, I think because of the timing of when July 4th is. I was surprised it was this weekend instead of the next weekend, but, you know, it is what it is. Sorry, Donald, but for some reason your button's not working today. Anywho, so there is a long-standing bigoted tradition in the city of New Orleans where businesses will shut down for Essence Festival because they'll claim a myriad of reasons. Here's one example of what happened a previous year. A establishment called Walk-Ons. It's a sports-themed type, pub-type restaurant that serves traditional American fare. You can get hamburgers and wings. They used to have this like ultimate BBBBBLT or whatever, where it's like a ton of bacon and lettuce and tomato. I used to go there for work a bunch, and the last time I ate there was it was the Thursday before Essence Festival this one year, and we ate there. And then I saw on Facebook later that day that because of a sewage issue, that they were going to be closed that weekend. Because apparently sewage was backing up into their dining room. Well, gross. Well, but they knew that sewage was backing up into their dining room before I had gone there that day. So gross. That's disgusting. So they let people eat there that day. All right, so this isn't racist yet, right? Because no, it's just gross, right? Because there's nothing racist about that. It's just disgusting. But here's the thing. They didn't know how bad the problem was. They didn't know what the problem was. They hadn't had the time yet, potentially, to look at and diagnose. They just knew that there was a problem. But they announced that they wouldn't be open till after the weekend was over. How would they know how long that they would have to be closed? Maybe it was a minor problem that they could just fix overnight and be open the next day. How would they know? They could have just said, we're going to be closed indefinitely until this problem is fixed. Maybe it would have been fixed the next day. Oh, we're open again. No. They knew that they were going to be closed the entirety of the weekend. So maybe they did know how bad the problem was. I don't know. They never let that out. But they just wanted to be closed for Essence Festival. Here's the kicker. I used to drive for Uber and Lyft. I was having a conversation about the whole close for Essence thing with a passenger of mine who happened to be a food reporter for one of the local newspapers. The food reporter said that, and now I can't corroborate this, I just have to go by what he said, but according to this food reporter, Walk-Ons apparently allegedly knew about this plumbing issue for weeks. They knew about it for a while. They just chose to not let anybody know about it until the day that they closed. But for some reason, they announced it the morning of instead of after they decided to close. So instead of saying on Thursday afternoon, hey, we're closing now because we're having this plumbing problem, they announced on Thursday morning. And so I had to eat in a restaurant where they were having sewage supposedly backing up into the dining area, which is gross. But they knew about it for weeks, which is gross, and chose what weekend to close. Not the weekend 2 weekends before Essence Festival, so they could be open for Essence Festival, not the weekend, 3 weekends before Essence Festival, or 1 weekend before. They chose to be closed during a very busy weekend of Essence Festival. Essence Festival has a lot of black tourists coming to the city of New Orleans. They don't close for other festivals. So one can only assume that the only reason that they closed for Essence is because they didn't want to serve black patrons. This is not a just one-off thing. There have been other restaurants there's like the Gem Saloon right across the street. I know, or used to know, the ex-wife of the owner of that place, who basically said, yes, he's a really big old racist, and that the reason that he closed for Essence is because he didn't want to have to deal with a bunch of black patrons because he's racist. There are other places that they would just simply choose to not be open just because they don't want to be open for Essence Festival. This year it's Pat O'Brien's, one of the biggest, most well-known bars in the city of New Orleans. Pat O'Brien's. I used to work there. We were open for Essence Festival when I worked there. I don't know who the management is now, but guess what? They're closed for Essence this year too. So I can only assume that they're doing it not for whatever other reason, but they're doing it because they're being racist. Look, and there are people, I had somebody on Twitter, and I was about to tweet earlier today, hey, I'm going to be talking about Close for Essence today on tonight's podcast, so if you want to come in and listen to tonight's podcast and hear me talk about Close for Essence, come on. Somebody responded to one of my Close for Essence tweets right before I was about to do that from like previous years. And the person was like, well, maybe they should tip. Maybe you should not be racist. I used to work, one of my first waiting jobs was for a restaurant up in Baltimore, Maryland. And this guy was this bitter old man. And he would tell us, hey, Leanna, what's going on? This bitter old man, the owner, he would always talk like this. And we had an employee meeting, and he told us as part of the meeting, if you have a table of bricks, and he did this thing with it, a table of bricks, automatic 15% gratuity. And I looked around at all the other wait staff, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? There's no way I'm doing that. No. I mean, if that's going to be the official policy and he wants to enforce that on me, no, I'll quit. Or he can fire me. I don't care. I'm not going to do that. Now, I mean, maybe I should have just walked out at that point. I don't know. But I wasn't necessarily as bold as I am now. Now I probably would have been like, I'm not doing that. I would have raised my hand and been like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, whatever. So, like a day or two later, I had this couple come in. It was probably one of my only tables. At the time, it was a very slow day. And I served them, nice black couple. And I gave them their check and they paid. And after they left, he came up to me and was like, you served the table of bricks. And I was like, I sure did. I knew exactly what was coming. And he goes, did you charge them 15% gratuity? And I was like, nope. He goes, what did they tip you? 20%. Oh, and then he scurried off because he was embarrassed because I didn't listen to his racist BS, and because I gave them good service and treated them like I would treat anybody else and didn't treat them like they were trash, and, because that's the deal. Trashy people don't tip. It's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. There was the worst convention that I had when I worked as a waiter downtown in New Orleans. It wasn't Essence Fest. It wasn't Bayou Classic, the two main conventions that have mostly black customers that come in. It was the Southern Baptist Convention. A whole bunch of lily white a-holes that came in that basically showed that I wanted to go ask if they would show me their Bible and say, hey, does your Bible, is it different than mine? Because yours must have an 11th commandment that says thou shalt not tip. Because clearly yours has that, because I'm not getting any this convention because it's ridiculous. You know, you treat people with dignity and respect, and that's, you know, you're not going to be treated poorly in time. Are there going to be circumstances where you get treated horribly, where people who don't understand and will be terrible? Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. There are terrible people all over the place, but I'm not going to treat people like they're terrible just because of their skin color, and I'm not going to do that. So then these businesses are going to choose to do that in a city that was once called by a previous mayor a chocolate city, that is a predominantly black city. I mean, how stupid are you? I mean, go move out to the North Shore if that's what you want to do. I mean, one of the things that I've basically used as my gauge of racism as it pertains to the people who fled this city in the Great White Flight was, how far did you move away from downtown? And I'll get to the chat in a second. How far did you move away from downtown? Did you go from downtown to Lakeview still in New Orleans? Maybe not. Maybe not. Did you go to Metairie, which is just right across right a hop? You know, maybe a little bit. You might be a little bit, might not be, but you still left the city. Did you go to Kenner, Louisiana, which is like Jefferson Parish, the one county over or parish over, but like take all the way out, as far out in the next parish as you can? You know, maybe. I mean, there are people who live in Kenner, and there's like Kenner, and then there's North Kenner, and people who live in North Kenner, because the southern part of Kenner has more ethnic populations, more Hispanic people, more black people, and the north part of Kenner might have more white people, more Caucasian people, and the people who live in North Kenner, who make sure to let you know that they live in North Kenner, those are probably the people that fled the city because they didn't want to be near black people. Those are probably people that fled because they didn't want to be near black people. And then you have the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The Pontchartrain Bridge, the bridge that crosses the Lake Pontchartrain, used to be the longest bridge in the world. It is still the longest bridge in the world over a single body of water. The people that moved from New Orleans up there crossed the largest bridge in the world to get away from black people. If that tells you where the racism is and how racist they are likely to be. Does this mean that there are all racists up on the North Shore? Of course not. But if you're that racist to cross the bridge, the longest bridge in the world to get away from black people, you're pretty darn racist. So, I mean, yeah. That's the racism that unfortunately still exists down here in the South, down here in Louisiana. And apparently, though, in New Orleans, you still got plenty of it here in the city. And you see it every year for Essence Fest, because the hashtag Clothes for Essence pops its ugly head up every single year. And every single year, you know, businesses, I don't know if they think they're just going to get away with it again and not going to suffer the bad press that they're going to get or I don't know if they think that they're clever. Oh, we're just doing routine maintenance. Why are you doing routine maintenance during one of the busiest weekends of the year that's not Mardi Gras or Jazz Fest? Why wouldn't you do it like 3 weeks from now when it's even hotter and nobody's here? Why wouldn't you choose one of the least busy weeks to do your maintenance? Instead, you're choosing a super huge busy time. And I don't even want to hear the crap. Oh, black people don't tip, blah, blah. I used to do rideshare. And I would hear from the rideshare people the same BS too. I made some of the best money I ever did doing rideshare during Essence Festival. And not only that, I had some of the best passengers during Essence Festival. I had some of the best times doing rideshare during Essence Festival. Like, again, it was some of the most fun passengers during Essence Festival because they were out here just having a great time listening. There was great concert. I was jealous at some of the concerts that they were going to. I wish I could have gone to the concerts, but I had to work. So, but they were talking about the concerts. They were talking about because it's not just concerts. They have like sessions and seminars that they, talk about all sorts of things and stuff about empowerment and uplifting yourself. I'd learn all sorts of new things from the passengers. It was, I mean, if my car didn't look terrible, I might consider making sure that I could go work this weekend. Because, again, I had fun, some of my most fun, working Essence Fest, driving Uber and Lyft. I had some of my most fun and made some of my most money working Uber and Lyft during those times. So don't give me the BS that I'm afraid of working. My business is going to suffer because I'm being open during Essence. No, you're suffering because you treat people like crap, and they're going to treat you like crap in turn. That's why your business is suffering. It has nothing to do with the patrons. It has everything to do with the owners and potentially the staff as well. So that's my little rant. Maybe I should have made this a fat man rant to put my fat man rant behind it. So, but that's my rant on closed for Essence and why people are closed for Essence.